YOLO and salute to the armed forces of the United States. So I'm making this video to help you guys hopefully increase the amount of recruits you guys have joining the armed forces, regardless of the branch. I think that money needs to be dedicated to ensuring the next generation of kids joining the armed forces. Me personally, I'm 36 years old. One of the greatest regrets in my life is that I did not join the armed forces straight out of high school, and I did not go career. Now, when I was in high school, I remember that a few young recruits approached me because they would do it like once a year. Some recruits would come through, and I kind of stood out. I was popular, I was fit, I was, and one of the dudes, if I remember correctly, he was a Marine, and he approached me and asked me if I was interested. And I told him, even though I love the idea, even though I would love to do it, I'm not. And he's like, well, if that's how you feel, like, why wouldn't you want to? I was like, because take a look around. And at that time, I was at Hollywood High School. I was like, take a look around at the system at play right now at this school, man. The amount of ninth grade, and this is during lunchtime, and I'm like, look around, and like the amount of ninth graders is overwhelmingly the large percentage of the school. So all the ninth graders were more than like 50% of the school. That means that half of those kids didn't graduate. They're not graduating, man. This system is failing them, And I told them, in all complete honesty, man, I don't see a difference between the armed forces and what's going on over here. And that was my ignorance at the time, that I couldn't separate one thing from another. To me, it was just one giant system failing us, and I felt it was designed to fail. That's really how I felt, and I explained it to him, and he said, I'm sorry that you feel that way, if you reconsider. But this is what I'm trying to also convey to you guys, okay? So when I was in high school, or in junior high school even, we had ROTC. I always wanted to join ROTC, but I could not join that shit. I just could not do it for one simple reason. Those Mickey Mouse ass uniforms. They're horrific, man. Like, those kids are getting bullied, bro. Those kids are they're getting frowned upon, man, by the rest of the school, by their outfit, by their uniform. Like, you guys are the armed forces, man. You guys own one of the coolest outfits out there, which is camouflage. Why wouldn't you guys just dress these kids up in camouflage, man? Make it like actually cool. Soldiers are cool, dude. Like, soldiers are cool. Why wouldn't you dress them up cool, so that they market themselves to other students, right? But if a student feels like, dude, man, like, that's a geeky uniform, you could still do all the rest. It doesn't have to be, those ROTC uniforms were the complete opposite of like the Marine uniform, with the nice buttons and the whole look, man. The Marines got it down. And I saw some examples that the Air Force wanted to upgrade their uniform and make it more appealing. Things need to be appealing. And it blows my mind that the armed forces are not directly involved with our schools, especially our public schools. For example, one thing, like, if I was in charge and I was able to make certain decisions, one thing I would incorporate is that, for example, what are they called? They're like Army reserves, the reservists. I'm so sorry. The reservists. Why don't you guys bring them to the school and make them exercise in uniform and all that stuff in front of the students? Like, these kids have to go to PE anyway. And a lot of these kids, they don't want to do PE because they don't want to look geeky. Because a lot of people aren't built nice, right? So they already have this self-esteem issue about how they look. Now they have to run and they have to jump and they have to do all these things and get judged by it. But when you have some other adults dressed up in camouflage exercising to the side on their own, man, just to see like that happening, not only is that going to spark interest, but it's also going to get you to be more fit. Another thing that I would invest money on is opening up armed forces gyms. Okay, like instead of going like I signed up to 24-hour fitness, for example. If you guys had like an army gym or a marine gym, 24 hours where like the people working there, they're actually soldiers and stuff, and I get to watch how soldiers exercise and stuff, I would go to that gym. You know, you guys could put some of your cool ass courses there, do all kinds of stuff. I would literally pay to go to a military gym over a regular gym anytime. It's like, it's advertised. You're building people up, man. You're building like the psyche of people. You're kind of indoctrinating them into that culture and the acceptance of it, right? Like if you saw a gym all around and you know it was an army gym and it was awesome. It was literally one of the best gyms you can go to. They have like courses only like you see in the army, like in the videos and stuff, in movies we watch, right? Same thing with like high schools. Why don't you guys put some money into PE and building some courses, right? Where they have to jump over logs, maybe, you know, climb a rope, do whatever, right? But make a course, label it, whether it's U.S. Army, whether it's Air Force, label it, right? And then give people, give these students a prize. Like if they could beat the best time, or if they could be the best of their class, or if they can, you know, get involved in the schools. Another thing I would do is, if I were in charge, man, I would literally go to all these high schools. And if you're in 11th or 12th grade, okay, or at least 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, once a year, any student that wants to take a field trip to a base, to a military museum, more preferably a base, right? Like once a year, the armed forces will pay to bus these kids to the base so they can see the actual soldiers and what they're doing, and seeing all the cool stuff you guys have, man. You guys have these incredible machines. Everything from what carries the tank to the tank itself. Everything from planes to the giant buildings you guys store them in. You know what I'm saying? Every part of the military, like all you guys' stuff is like the coolest stuff ever, and these high school students don't ever get to see it. It's weird, like in other countries, like in Russia, even in China, right? Like, so Russia celebrates winning World War II, and every year they have, you know, all their military equipment. It's like this, you know, they make this military parade with all this cool ass stuff that the people actually get to see. We don't have anything like that. We don't have military parades. I've never seen a military parade, and I grew up in LA County. My entire life I've been in LA County. I've never seen, like, you guys don't put your tanks on the corners like some old World War II tank as just a like a artsy display. You guys don't ever park Humvees. Like, it's never seen, and it's so sad that we don't get to see this stuff, because it's some of like the coolest stuff ever, dude. And if you were to take some of these kids to places like Edwards Air Force Base, it's that like, so in junior high school we had, I don't want to mess this up, but I believe he was a corporal, and this guy was also a dean, if I remember correctly. I might have messed this up a little bit in terms of his rank and his status at the school, but he had a high status and he had high ranking, and he took us to Edwards Air Force Base for 3 days, man. He like plugged us in, and I remember it was, I believe, like 60 students or 100 students. I remember it was like 2 school buses full of students. For 3 days, we went to Edwards Air Force Base. We saw like skunk works. We saw a whole bunch of planes from different companies. We saw part of what NASA was doing. Like, it was so, like, that memory has stuck with me ever since. That's one of the greatest memories I have in my life, that I went to Edwards Air Force Base and I saw these cool ass machines that like are awe-inspiring. Like, I saw the F-117. I saw parts of the F-22 when they were just starting to build it, you know? We saw the next generation of spaceships that are gonna go out there. We talked to these scientists. We were like, we had to do experiments and we had to do all kinds of, it was so incredible, man. Like, and to do that with these students, you would definitely spark interest in signing up to the armed forces, because I know not only are the numbers dwindling, but the quality of people actually joining is like, it's going down. That everyone's pudgy, everybody's fat now. All these dudes are pudgy and fat. And you know what? Why you guys are the military, man? You guys as dudes are all yoked up. All the females are looking fine and dope and strong, and like you could see it. So why aren't you guys involved in the schools to make or that change happen? For example, like if I was in charge, right? Another thing I would do is I would sponsor some of the high schools football teams or basketball teams or whatever. And I would make it where, you know what, if a student wants to wear like their football uniform in camo, they can. So let's say this entire, like Hollywood High School, their entire uniform is sponsored by, let's say, the Army. So it's still a football uniform, but it comes in different colors of camo, right? You have like the snow camo, you have the desert camo, you have the, you know, the forest camo, all the different shades or all the different types. And put your logo on it, right? Even the cheerleaders, man, their uniforms, let that be camouflage. You know, all camo with the camo pom-poms. Like, that's dope, you know? And it's already like, that's gonna spark all kinds of interest. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna not only gonna spark a whole bunch of interest, but it's also gonna make people really comfortable and really appreciative of being in the military. And it's gonna create a lot of pride in, even if you're not in the military, right? It's gonna create a lot of pride because you used to wear that football uniform. You used to hold those camouflage pom-poms, right? Like, you're already connected to it somehow. And it astonishes me that, like, the U.S. Armed Forces is, like, almost not to be seen. You guys are not to be seen. The only times we ever see you guys is like if I'm on the freeway and you guys are transporting some of your military equipment, man. That's the only time I see you guys as soldiers and you guys as machines and stuff. That's it. Like, we don't get to see it. Because usually, even the soldiers that are like, even the military members that are active, right? When they come home, they're usually, they put on their regular clothes. So even in society, we rarely see someone in full uniform, especially in LA. Like, I rarely ever see someone in full uniform just at the grocery store or something. But I also understand the armed forces wants people straight out of high school. That way it's easier to mold them, right? Like, the armed forces doesn't want me at 35 years old with all kinds of issues that I have, right? You guys want them young, you guys want them strong, you guys want them smart, fast, all that. But if you guys aren't involved in helping create and sustain a healthy population, then you're not gonna get healthy soldiers, right? You gotta deal with these pudgy ass kids in high school, and then they gotta drop weight or something and then go and join the armed forces, and like you have to cater to the cool crowd. You have to cater to the cool people and the people that like students look to, because students look to certain students, right? And if you catch that group of kids' attention, it's like just a snowball effect. It'll take off on its own. I mean, even if you guys were to reinstate the ability to, for example, if someone's like 20 years old and they catch their first crime, instead of sending them to prison, why don't you guys give them an option to join the armed forces and actually be a part of this country and do something for this country in a positive way, rather than send them through that shithole that only destroys people and destroys families. Instead, you can take someone who made a mistake, and I know you guys are real confident in your ability to mold people, right? To take someone and give them dignity, instill dignity, right? Instill self-respect and all the stuff, determination, all the stuff that you guys, like you take lazy ass people and make them into productive parts of society, man. You guys have an amazing way of doing it. I know it, and you guys are very confident in your abilities to do so. So I don't see how it would be any different for someone that makes mistakes, or someone that grew up on the street, for example, and that's just the first crime that they got caught doing. If they happen to join the Marines, I know the Marines can do it. I know the Marines can definitely take that person and make them into an actual Marine. And give them pride and give them all this stuff, right? Now, I don't know about how confident the rest, like the Navy isn't doing that, or the Army isn't doing that, or the Air Force isn't doing that. But the Air Force, it seems to me like they think that they're just fucking better than everybody else, right? Like, they don't have to rebuild these people. They just have to pick and choose from the top echelon, right? Like, if they want all these thinkers and stuff. At least that's what it seems like, and I'm not trying to big up one or degrade another one, but it really seems like the Air Force doesn't give a shit about the quality of people in schools and stuff like that. And I don't want to divert into that and the politics and all that stuff of the different armed forces. But what I'm trying to say is, like, to simplify and end that topic, I already know the Air Force would not be willing to take someone who broke the law for the first time and then put in the effort to build them up into a high quality human being that's part of the system and whatnot. I know the Marines can do that easily. They can take that fuck up and they can make them into a real Marine. Give them dignity, self-respect, everything. But all this stuff, man, I don't understand why you guys aren't involved hands-on in our junior high schools, in our high schools, in our sports teams, in our everything, you know? Like, when you guys are on like YouTube and all this stuff, right? You see all this crazy stuff that Red Bull sponsors. I drink Red Bull, not because of the shit they sponsor, but it blows my mind that they're constantly sponsoring all kinds of amazing things people are doing. And what's crazy is the armed forces are already doing all the craziest stuff. We just don't see them. We just don't see it. It's like, but why don't you guys sponsor all those cool stuff? Why don't you guys sponsor the X Games and sponsor dudes in I know you guys are doing NHRA. I've seen you guys as drag cars. Amazing. You guys have a whole group of people in army uniforms building camouflage dragsters, and it's incredible to see. And that's the one I'm rooting for. That's the one I'm rooting for. I don't know any of these teams. I don't know them by name. I don't know. But I know the Army. I know what the Army does. So, like, I don't know, man. If I was in charge, it's like, dude, you guys can make some investments that will really pay off. Not only for the armed forces, but for the everyday average Joe's life, right? Because you guys can give certain values that either we didn't learn or we were lacking. But if you guys were more hands-on and involved, I think even society would be better. I'm gonna end it at that. I'm gonna say, look, I am willing to put my work into this, man. I'm willing to actually, if you guys want to hire me, I'm willing to drop everything I'm doing, work 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week to make one of these things happen or all of these things happen. I'm willing to go to these schools, talk to these kids, everything. I'm literally willing to put my money where my mouth is. And if you guys contact me, I will drop everything I'm doing, and I am willing to put a crazy amount of work etiquette to getting this done. And like I said, I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. I'm willing to put my time, my energy, and not just a little bit of it. I'm talking about I'm willing to go ham on it. Do 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week. Go from school to school or place to place, and whatever it is, man, I'm willing to do it. Contact me. I have tons of ideas. These are just some of the ideas I have. But you guys have a lovely day. Thank you for you guys' service, your service. I think it's I don't think we as the everyday citizen can thank you guys enough, and the sacrifices that have been made. Like the amount of gratitude, I don't think just thank you for your service cuts it, you know. But thank you for your service. Peace.